Hello, welcome to Royal Black and Elite. I'm Lady Trinette Wilson. Thank you all so much for joining me. I wanted to talk today, in lecture today, about Mary Jane Patterson. She was the nation's first African American woman who graduated from college. But I want to take that in context to a conversation that I think we need to have around reading and reading comprehension and sound the alarm. Because my daughter is a teacher, many of my friends are teachers, and my program, the Etiquette Ambassadors program, just recently was accepted into a program that's going to be pushed out to the nation in schools. And so it's important that we talk about these students. And a lot of times when you get out of school and you say 50, 60, or older person, you don't think about education and why we're facing what we're facing. But I want to tell you all so that if you have children, grandchildren, that you can encourage them to read books and get off of that tablet and get off of that phone. Even more so, we're experiencing where kids are entering elementary school, in particular, like kindergarten, and they're not potty trained yet. That means they're 5 or 6 years old still wearing diapers. So I believe this goes way further than kids just not being able to read. I think basic parenting issues are going on there. Now, can we tie it to, grades and all that? Of course, if you can't read, you're not going to make good grades. So we are definitely in trouble. What's even also sadder? That even our adults don't read anymore. There's been a 40% drop over the past 20 years in adults reading just for pleasure. And some of that is because of the electronics that we can use to read, and people are not holding books in their hand anymore. But, y'all, can you put a like down below if you like that book in your hand? I really think that really gets you one with the words. They say that when Columbia University, they had seniors enter in and they applied for school and everything, and they said these children can't read. They can't comprehend and they can't read. Now, many of it is because the kids say back in high school, they weren't asked to read. All they had to read were excerpts, articles, columns, and now, they can chat GDP it, they can listen to a video, so reading isn't important. But I heard someone say in the next 10 years, the people who are going to be able to read are going to be the ones who rule the world. So that is scary to know that we are going back to the ice age and our children are not being able to read. Also, what's scary is that 20% of adults can't read either. So that is definitely a problem. They're reading below 6th grade level and there is no comprehension. Let's just put it like, it is what it is. Now, part of the reason why are our children not being able to read? Well, back in the 80s and late 80s, early 90s, there was something called No Child Left Behind, and that was replaced by something called Common Core. And she believed in the 3 cueing system, which means instead of sounding out the words, the children just needed to see a picture, and then through memory, they would know that was the word. Well, I don't know what shenanigans that is because our kids can't read. They need to have phonics and they need to be able to read. And what happened is in Mississippi, they did this in 2013. They dropped the whole Common Core thing. They dropped the 3 Qs and they went back to phonics. As a result, they went from 49th in reading to 9th in reading. And third, and first graders are even higher than that. So phonics is important. If you're a grandparent, put down, allow your grandkids to put down that phone, put down that tablet and read. Read them a book and have them read it to you. I saw an interview with a mom, and the mom said she didn't know her child didn't even know how to read. The child was getting ready to graduate high school. So parents, we play a big part and where our children are. And I show you in history how a parent's influence plays in a child's life. There was a lady, her name was Mary Jane Patterson, and her mom's name was Emmeline, and her father's name was Henry. Now, Mary Jane, even though Henry, he was a bricklayer and he was a plasterer, he believed in education, and he made sure all of his children were educated. Now, some say that Henry was born into slavery. Some say he was set free in 1852, but no matter what, he made a way for his children to be able to go to school. So they had four daughters, and all four of them went to college and became teachers. They moved from Raleigh, North Carolina to Oberlin, and that's where they attended college. Now, she began taking classes in 1857. And she became the first African American woman to graduate from college, making a way back in the 1800s, facing all kinds of discrimination. But here she is, she did it. And even her family, they owned a grocery store called the Patterson's Corner. Now, she used her career to teach. She graduated in 64. So in 1865, she started teaching at the Philadelphia Institute of Colored Youth, and now it's Cheyenne University. And then from 1869 to 1871, Patterson taught in D.C. at a prep school for black youth. It's now Dunbar High School. Now, she served as their principal from 71 to 72, but then she was demoted. They really didn't say why. Well, excuse me. I'm sorry, they did say why. She was demoted because Richard Theodore Green became the principal, and he was the first African American graduate from Harvard University. Now, he's the dad, actually, of, I put her, Belle Acosta Green, I put her video down there. She supposedly was J.P. Morgan's librarian and girlfriend. So definitely check out that video. The other thing is her dad, actually, they said that he was friends with Andrew Johnson. Now, let me show you how playing the long game and not getting offended worked for her. Because Greener only stayed there for a year. So he left Dunbar after a year, and they re-promoted Patterson from 1873 to 1884. She grew that school from 50 students to 172 students, and she actually taught there until her death on September the 24th, 1894. She was only 54 years old, and they don't give a reason for her passing. But in 1892, she helped form the Colored Women's League, which later became the National Association of Colored Women. So she lived an extremely rich life. It was sad though, because she could have stayed the principal, but they demoted her again after she grew that school to 172 students, because they said they felt like a man should run the school. She kept working there, but that was wrong, I thought. But what a beautiful life she lived, and what a contribution to the field of education that she gave. So education is important, y'all. These kids at least need to be potty trained when they're walking into school in preschool. And my daughter, actually, these kids are violent. So they hit, they spit, they kick. But my daughter's a very tall woman, and so she's able to get that school together, those classes together that she's teaching, and she's a praying woman. So she prays every day before she goes into that school. Put a like down below if you know what I'm talking about, a praying teacher. So you all, I just want us to read. I wanted to share Mary Jane Patterson and give her roses for her career in education, and show you how important when a father, and her father Henry, pushed his kids to go to school, pushes for their children to learn. They do. So I thank you for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. Don't forget, keep on clicking down below. And don't forget also to hit like, share, and subscribe so this can get pushed through the algorithm, so that we can, sound the alarm. Parents, we need to get on our jobs. And also hype it also. Hyping helps too. So y'all have a great day, and I'll see you on another great episode.